Your concept of yourself is everything that you believe to be true about yourself and what's possible for you and anyone else. And it really means changing most of that, because you have been raised to be ordinary. You've been raised to believe in your limits and how far you can go. And you've been have this imposed upon you by your well-meaning parents and grandparents and culture and religion and business and education. The systems that you have been immersed into have basically told you, get here. This is not for you.
We have great wishes and desires, and yet our life is not controlled by that. Our life is controlled by the programming, and that programming is the disempowering program. So all you see is the consequence of the invisible subconscious, which will sabotage all the desires and wishes you have.
My behavior, whatever I'm doing, is nothing but an expression of what's going on inside. Now here's the paradox. I can be thinking something very positive, I can see something good happen, but I'm getting bad results. I see myself earning more money, but I'm going deeper in debt. I study the material, but it doesn't happen. And what happens then? I start to think there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you, but your subconscious mind has been programmed.
The science that says there are two minds that are operating at the same time. One is called the conscious mind, and one is called the subconscious mind. I say, what's the difference? The conscious mind is where you are as a spirit, an entity, a unique identity. You are in that conscious mind and perceiving the world. I say, what about the subconscious mind? It's not a creative mind. The subconscious mind is habits, things that you've learned and you experienced in your life, and they become habits. So the subconscious mind is not thinking, creating. The subconscious mind, push the button, play the behavior.
If beliefs are subconscious states of being, and you're stringing beliefs together, then most people are viewing their life through the lens of the past, unconsciously. And they are filling in reality. They're seeing reality. They're filling it in from their past memory.
What if you just didn't default to the subconscious? What if you just stayed in the conscious mind? That's called being mindful. And why is it relevant? Because when you stay conscious, keep your mind present, you are the creator of your life. And when people are in mindfulness, they manifest their wishes, their desires, and their happiness.
If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision in the future, as you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is affecting or creating your personality. Your environment is really controlling how you think and feel unconsciously, because every person, everything, every place, every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience that you have with every person produces an emotion. So some people will use their boss to reaffirm their addiction to judgment. They'll use their enemy to reaffirm their addiction to hatred. They'll use their friends to reaffirm their addiction to suffering. So now they need the outer world to feel something. So to change then is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world. And the environment is that seductive.
If you keep obsessing about negative things, your mind will be automatically conditioned to bring it up more and more and more often without your control, just automatically. The positive aspect is we can use that same skill set and that same rule to apply positive thoughts into our own life. We can give positive thinking, positive questions, positive approaches to life a lot of importance in our life and a lot of focus, and focus on them and give a lot of duration to them over a period of time, and they get sealed in the brain as well. And now the brain says, well, that's easy, automatically thinks about it.
If you want to have something show up in your life, the kind of person you would like to become, manifest something new into your life, something powerful, whatever it might be, you obviously must first be able to imagine it. Your imagination is able to do all that you ask in proportion to the degree of your attention. So, what kind of attention do you place on your desires?
When you begin to marry a clear intention of your future with an elevated emotion, and the emotion that you're creating that future with is greater than the shock or the betrayal of the past, the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you pay attention to whatever you're imagining. And now you're beginning to condition your brain and body into the future. And the stronger the emotion, it's no longer the environment that's signaling the gene. The end product from the experience in the environment is the emotion. And you're signaling the gene ahead of the environment. And you're beginning to change before your wealth comes. You're creating wealth. You're not waiting for your healing to feel gratitude. You're creating health by changing yourself and becoming it.
For some time now, I've been interested in a discovery about human behavior called self-image psychology. You may already be familiar with the self-image idea. This is the principle that each of us is controlled by his mental picture of himself. If you thought much about it, I'm sure you agree that a good self-image is vital to our happiness and to the achievement of our goals in life. But if you aren't yet familiar with this new idea, let me introduce it by quoting my old friend Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who said, "The most important psychological discovery of the century is the discovery of the self-image. Our self-image is our own conception of the sort of person I am. Each of us builds a self-image out of his beliefs about himself. It's unconsciously formed from past experiences, our successes and failures, our humiliations and triumphs. It determines the way we interpret other people's reactions to us. In short, this mental picture we have of ourselves turns out to be a kind of life-governing device. That's the most significant part of the whole self-image principle, that our mental picture determines our interpretation of everything that goes on about us, our reactions to life and other people, our feelings, thoughts, actions, even our abilities. We are the person we believe ourselves to be, if we're anywhere near normal, and we're consistently that person in everything. Now it's interesting, isn't it? It's exciting too, when we realize that our self-image can be changed. If for one reason or another, we've developed an image that's too limited to permit our achieving maximum results in life, that image can be enlarged, improved. There's one point to keep in mind here, though. We can't outgrow the limits we impose on ourselves. Our thoughts, habits, even our abilities must be those of the person we believe ourselves to be. We can set new limits in place of old ones, but we can't surpass the limits of our current self-image. There's a story about a Wisconsin farmer who was walking through his fields one day when he stumbled over a little glass jug in his pumpkin patch. Out of curiosity, he poked a young pumpkin through the neck of the jug, being careful not to break the vine. Then he placed his little experiment back on the ground and walked away. When harvest time came, the farmer was working his way down a row of big ripe pumpkins when he again came upon the glass jug. But this time it looked different. Picking it up, he discovered that the young pumpkin he'd poked inside now completely filled its glass prison. Having no more room, it had stopped growing. The farmer broke the jug and held in his hand a runt pumpkin, less than half the size of all the other pumpkins and exactly the shape of the jug. Well, people aren't pumpkins, but our self-image is something like that jug. It determines the size and kind of person we become. The similarity ends with the fact that we can remove our self-imposed limitations by enlarging our self-image. We form a mental picture of ourselves through experience, and we can change that picture the same way, through experience. If the actual experience we need is not available to us, we can, according to self-image psychology, create that experience synthetically. Now scientists agree that the human nervous system is incapable of distinguishing between actual experience and the same experience imagined vividly and in complete detail. Worry is a good example of this synthetic experience. When a person worries about something, he projects himself mentally, emotionally, even physically, into a situation that hasn't even occurred. The man who worries intensely about, well, say failure, finds himself experiencing the same reactions that accompany actual failure. Feelings of anxiety, inadequacy, and humiliation, and eventually headaches and an upset stomach. As far as his mind and body are concerned, he has failed. And if he worries about it long enough, if he concentrates on failure intensely enough, he will upset himself to the extent that he will fail, and he'll get sick. Now, everything can be used in either of two ways, positively or negatively, constructively or destructively. Worry is the negative use of creative imagination, but most people apparently never realize that positive results, just as real as the negative results of worry, can be achieved through using our imagination constructively. Our minds are complex and marvelous, but like electronic computers, they can only act on the data we feed them. The man who worries about failure is unwittingly defeating himself. He is feeding his mind the wrong data. If he spent the same amount of time visualizing success as he spends thinking about failure, he can develop confidence, self-assurance, poise, and a feeling of well-being would replace apprehension. By concentrating on the success he desires, by synthetically experiencing that success, he can expand his self-image into that of a person for whom success is normal, expected. Why not practice holding the self-image of the person you most want to become?
People have enormous capabilities beyond what's commonly thought to be possible. The power to tap into our unlimited potential is directly connected to how we define reality, how we view ourselves, and what believe we can achieve. No matter what is now or will occur, you can choose, right this moment, more empowering meanings for everything in your life. You hold the power to create a new world for yourself and those you care about. The mind shift is simple but profound. Is this the end of something wonderful or the beginning of something unpleasant? Are you being punished for your failure or rewarded for your success? The minute you decide to focus on something, you assign it a meaning and infuse it with feeling. How you define an event produces emotion and determines your inner feeling state going forward. The meaning you assign to any event, interaction, or outcome defines the emotional tone of your experience and the feelings you generate throughout your life. Meaning equals emotion and emotion equals life. The meaning you give your experiences will always change how you feel, and the emotion you feel always becomes the quality of your life. Our memories are actually anchors to feeling states, images, sounds, and sensations. All of these aspects rely on the meaning we give to them. The meaning you attach to something produces the emotion of your life, and your emotion is your life. Meaning equals emotion, emotion equals life. Write this down or memorize this stanza. This is the essence to the entire power of meaning. The meaning you give events, interactions, and outcomes determines how you feel. Meaning informs your emotional state. By creating a ladder of positive and empowering meanings, you effectively change the direction of your life and provide yourself rational, proven reasons your success will continue. And it all starts now with your decision to become conscious of the meanings you are constantly creating. This technique is called reframing, and it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to improve your psychology. Reframing isn't about pretending a situation is great when it may not be. Rather, it's about discovering what could be great, what you could learn by consequence, or how you can use the situation to create a better outcome. Perspective is a powerful thing. When you can reframe a particular experience or interaction, you can often change what happens as a result. Let's say, for example, your boss is always yelling at you. Human beings tend to attach certain meanings to experiences. In actuality, there may be an infinite number of ways to interpret any experience. We frame the events in our life based on the ways we've decided to perceive similar experiences in the past, forming habitual patterns we repeat throughout our entire lives. Are your patterns helping or harming you? It's vital to remember that our perceptions are creative in nature. If we define something as negative, that's the message our brain receives and responds to by creating an emotional state to reinforce that reality. The quality of your life is the quality of your communication with yourself as well as with others. Reframing is the difference between being constantly disappointed and being consistently satisfied. By stacking positive interpretations, one after the other, you become the author of the success story of your own life. How would you feel at bedtime if every day turned out to be ideal, interesting, or even amazing? It's closer than you think. Start harnessing your innate ability to supercharge your emotions, empower your decisions, and elevate your life today through the power of meaning.